I think we're really self-hosted people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which could mean locally, it could mean the cloud,
Yep.
right? But what self-hosted means is ownership, control, and freedom to do whatever I want with
Hmm.
it. It doesn't
Yes.
matter to us really where the system lives,
Yep.
right? We want it to be able to live wherever. And also, you can slice and dice this, right? It's not an all or nothing scenario. Just because you're using some cloud hosted components or even some closed source API components doesn't mean the whole system, has to be that way, right? You could run your
Yep.
interface locally and you can use cloud-based inference, providers, a combination of open source and closed source providers, et cetera. So, but like going back to what we were saying, there's no cloud self-hosting movement.
Yeah. There isn't.
There is a local AI movement, right? And we're part of that local AI movement. It's just we're more in the like we also are part of the cloud self-hosting AI
I
movement.
almost think we live in reality
Yeah.
because it's like you and I both. It's like if you, for local to work, 9 times out of 10, you have to be in your one office. You can act you can offer yourself access from the outside world. So like let's say if you went somewhere other than your home and you wanted to access it, but you also run the risk when you do that of being vulnerable to attacks. I mean, you just let somebody catch your IP open, and who knows, you may lose your entire internet on a DDoS attack because some kid decided he was going to aim his script at you that day. You have no, I mean, it's anything can happen at that point. The cloud gives you that ability to, like I said, you and I live in reality. Our laptop can't run a GPU. Most people can't afford the GPU that it takes to run a serious model. I mean, you can run an 8B, sure, but your laptop's not touching above that as a general consumer level. So having something that exists on the cloud where you own it still, it's all yours. You just have this little cloud operating system where it runs and you open router or something else, you can access the GPU, and suddenly you are no longer trapped in this office.
And the serious people, even that are building platforms, I'm not going to name any names here, but the serious people that we know that are building local AI platforms run cloud-based services in addition to their
Yep.
local. So I don't think there's anyone that I've talked to that's doing serious stuff with AI that's only local,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, because your GPU cost alone, that's a car.
Right,
Especially if you want to run, like we were talking about, in order to do RAG, you have to do RAG well, you're touching at least a 70B model.
right.
Anything less than that, from what even Beck's little chart that he had where he tested different models using the RAG and the memory, and the lower, even 32-bit was not, or 32 billion parameter model was not doing the results that he wanted to see. So
Correct.
you're hitting 70 to get consistent results at the very
And
least.
even at that, you're not matching, OpenAI
Oh yeah,
for
you're not even close. Yeah, you're not even close to OpenAI at this point. So it's like you want to touch to me, and you want to be open, and you want to be private. That's Open Router or something of that nature instead of going to a closed source model. That way you can have access to everything. And if things change, and as they change, Open Router evolves and it does move rapidly when a new model comes out.
And this is the key, what you're saying right now, from my perspective, is avoiding lock-in,
Yep.
right? So it's like, we need a better name, but like no lock-in cloud self-hosting is basically
Yeah.
what we're talking about
Yep.
here. So it's fine to use an OpenAI API for inference. It's not fine to use a closed source OpenAI embedding model because you're locked into the embedding model and you're not locked into the inference provider,
Yep,
right?
and you change that embedding model, you have to redo all the
Right.
documentation, which, as we just said, could take 5 minutes just on one PDF.
Yeah. So, we got to come up with a better marketing slogan for this, but like we want to be part of the no lock-in self-hosting movement, right?
Yep,
Not the local movement, but local can be if you have a $50,000 hardware setup sitting in your
you don't need anybody
office,
else.
you're local. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you're doing everything that we're going to be doing in the cloud, right? Maybe more, right? With
Yeah.
that, right? But if you're the average person that doesn't want to spend $3,000 or more on a piece of hardware, you're going to have to run some components of this in the cloud. But the key is, and this goes back to the WordPress analogy, you can host WordPress locally, but most people don't, especially
Yep.
if you have a big WordPress site, you host it in the cloud. But the reason why you still want to use WordPress instead of a Wix or a Squarespace or a Shopify is because you own and
You own
control
it.
it,
Yep.
right? So, so I think this is, where we've been wanting to move. And I think from a marketing standpoint, my thing was like, well, we really need to like go local first because that's
Yep.
where all the movement is. The more that I work on this stuff, the more that I'm like, even, we just need to go all in on cloud self-hosting.